Clinton's has confirmed it is planning to shut around 20% of its shops in an effort to keep the company itself afloat. Let's speak to Kate Hardcastle, the consumer and retail expert. Morning to you, Kate.
Hi, good morning.
This isn't a first for Clinton's, is it? I think I'm right in saying it's the third time in a decade or so that it's found itself in trouble. What's the issue now?
Well, it's a precarious time for the high street. We've just really heard the information about Wilko's last week, and I think people are still reeling from the fact that we might have another surge of brand names starting to disappear from a number of high streets. That's certainly been down to the fact that consumer spending has been massively being challenged by the cost of living crisis. But there's much more to this than perhaps meets the eye under the bonnet, if you like. And that's that the card and greeting card industry has seen massive change over recent years. We know there's been many digital players coming into that space where you can go online and personalise cards, getting them sent direct to your recipient. Some people have just evolved their thinking, actually not buying cards whatsoever, seeing them as perhaps an old-fashioned way of celebrating and using other items instead. Gifting, smaller token items, sending flowers through the post, even sending money directly to recipient. But more than that as well, we've got a brand that has been quite traditional in its format. The store's perhaps not stimulating the type of excitement we're expecting to see from a retail environment where actually it's about the quality, not the quantity of stores.
Yeah, I mean, it strikes me there's an inevitability about this, as you say, with so many competing and more 21st century means of getting in touch with people. What can Clinton's do they think, to try and up their game and compete again?
Well, certainly there is actually a trend coming through from younger consumers that the idea of receiving something in the post is quite novel, and they're actually interested in the idea of sending cards again, but it's going to have to be a card that really matches the mood and the trends and all of the personalization that the new generation want. And that means that the store's probably going to have a different focus, a lot more about the digital presence and more about making sure the stores that count are quite exciting. It might have multiple partnerships in it. They might have different brand offers for different types of gifting, but they're going to have to work really smarter in the store environment. I think as well, it's about making the brand relevant to the audiences today. All in all, consumers generally are less loyal to brands. There's much more fickleness going on. And as we see value players more and more, like the likes of Primark or even in this marketplace, Card Factory, etc., all offering cards at a lower price point. If you're in the more premium end of that marketplace, you're going to have to make sure that the offer really does stand for the value that the consumers want to.
Yeah, there is very much a generational issue, obviously, isn't there? My son at the weekend asked me how you buy a stamp. Which was an illustration to me as to just
failures at parenting.
How much things
in
have
the
changed.
post office pet.
But then he asked me, can you buy one stamp? And I couldn't remember, because you always kind of used to buy books of 6, didn't you?
You can if you're at the post office.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yes,
I've only just got used to the fact you don't have to lick the back of a stamp anymore. It does it itself. Do you know, Kate, are the kind of more traditional card sending groups, the more elderly amongst us, are they still doing it in the way they always did?
No, actually, it's our age group, so we sound similar and above. There have actually been the biggest changes in the marketplace. We're the ones that have sort of bowed out from that. And I think particularly big times of the year like Christmas, we've heard that really kind of resonate with a lot of people when they look to shift budgets over the last couple of years, when it's been this conversation about cost of living. And we've gone out into the research and looked into where consumers are making small cuts. They still wanted to celebrate Christmas, but Christmas cards, one of the first things off the Christmas list, if you like. So it's really been our age groups where the shift and the seismic change has come from. That said, though, those younger consumers like your son, there's a novelty factor to it, but they can easily sway to so many different things. I think the fact of the matter is, the way we buy today, a card shop, a card retailer's competition isn't just other card retailers. It's anything at all that £5 can be spent on. And I think that's the point of change. So they've got to work really hard to make it count.
Yeah, and as you were saying, the high street in general is struggling. I was just watching out the corner of my eye earlier on this morning, our colleagues on BBC Breakfast doing an item about this, and including the line that Phoenix flagship department store in London is under threat, and a quote from the head of House of Fraser: the department store globally is broken. These are concerning times in retail, aren't they? As if we haven't covered that in depth before.
Look, the department stores changing, not broken, because we still buy from huge department stores like Amazon. It's an online department store, isn't it? It's a recategorization of it. I think we're going through one of the big uncomfortable shifts as we see this evolvement. We went through the same 2 or 3 years ago. And I think out of this, we will see more positivity very soon.
Well, that is optimistic. Not necessarily, though, if you are a retailer on the high street. Maybe if you're a retailer online.
Particularly maybe if you're an independent retailer on the high street. We've seen so much more in terms of grassroots brands coming through. Maybe if you don't want a homogenised high street, you want some variation and differences. And actually, if you want better value as a consumer and more interesting products, people are going to have to work harder to get your business.
All right, interesting stuff. We never tire of talking about retail or the future of the high street. It's something that affects us all. Bad news, it seems, for Clintons, but optimism there from Kate Hardcastle. Kate, thanks very much indeed for your time.